The scent of lemon polish and old money clung to Arthur Sterling's study, a fragrance Evelyn had meticulously maintained for 30 years. Now it felt like a shroud. Her fingers, usually so precise, trembled slightly as she aligned a stack of leather-bound ledgers on the mahogany desk. Each book, each framed photograph of Arthur's ancestors, was a testament to a legacy she was now dismantling, piece by agonizing piece. The impending divorce was a slow, public vivisection, and Evelyn, ever the stoic, found solace in the illusion of control this ritual offered. Outside, the Nevada desert shimmered under a relentless sun, indifferent to the quiet implosion within the Sterling estate.
A gravel crunch announced Lena's arrival. Evelyn heard the familiar, decisive click of her daughter's boots on the marble foyer, a sound that always heralded a disruption. Lena Sterling, sharp-eyed and perpetually clad in the practical armor of a journalist, moved through the ancestral home like a foreign body, her gaze dissecting every strained smile, every carefully placed vase. She offered a terse greeting, her dark eyes, so like Arthur's but devoid of his evasiveness, scanning the room for unspoken narratives. The lawyers arrived shortly after, two impeccably suited men whose polite detachment only amplified the tension. The asset division meeting was a sterile affair, a clinical dissection of a life. As a paralegal sifted through a forgotten box of Arthur's childhood keepsakes, a dusty collection of old baseball cards, tarnished medals, and faded photographs, a small, ornate object clinked against the cardboard. It was an antique locket, intricately carved with swirling filigree, its silver dulled by time. The paralegal held it up, a momentary curiosity in the otherwise mundane process.
Anything of note, Mr. Sterling?
Arthur, who had been staring out the window, turned, a flicker of something unreadable in his hazel eyes. "Just old trinkets," he murmured too quickly.
Evelyn, however, felt a prickle of unease. She reached for the locket, her fingers tracing the delicate engraving on its back. "For my forgotten star." The words, etched in an elegant, unfamiliar script, felt like a whisper from another life.
Lena, observing from the doorway, caught the inscription, a subtle tightening around her mouth, a journalist's instinct, a flicker of recognition ignited behind her cynical gaze. The locket was placed in a separate, labeled bag, a silent, cryptic harbinger. Lena's temporary podcast base was the faded 1950s diner, a chrome and vinyl anachronism baking under the desert sun. The air inside hummed with the low thrum of an ancient refrigerator and the faint, comforting scent of stale coffee and sizzling onions. She nursed a lukewarm soda, her laptop open, a microphone poised. The diner was a repository of local history, a place where stories, true or embellished, were served alongside greasy burgers.
Another one of them true crime folks, huh? The old-timer, a man named Gus with a face like a road map of the desert and eyes that had seen too much, slid into the booth opposite her. He was a regular, a font of local gossip Lena had cultivated over the past few days.
"Just trying to piece together some old threads, Gus," Lena replied, her voice smooth, practiced for interviews. "That Serafina Dubois disappearance, still a lot of unanswered questions."
Gus grunted, stirring his coffee with a spoon that looked older than Lena. Serafina, pretty thing, always wore that fancy locket. Unique it was, had a hidden compartment, I heard. Old man Hemlock, the jeweler, he made 'em special, said he only made a few like that. He paused, a faraway look in his eyes. Funny, that locket always seemed to be a part of her, like a second skin.
Lena's pen stilled over her notebook. "Hidden compartment, old man Hemlock," she pressed, a new urgency in her tone.
Gus nodded slowly. Yep, Hemlock's shop closed up decades ago, but his work distinctive, like a signature.
He then veered off into a rambling anecdote about a prize-winning watermelon, but Lena barely heard him. Her mind was already racing. Later, back at her booth, Lena found a faded newspaper clipping online. The grainy photograph showed a young woman, vibrant even in black and white, her smile radiant. Around her neck, unmistakable, was a locket, the same intricate filigree, the same distinctive shape. Serafina Dubois. The cold case, it seemed, was warming up, and the locket was the key. Back at the Sterling estate, the air felt thick with unspoken words. Marcus Thorne, Evelyn's younger brother, moved with an easy grace, his charisma a thin veneer over something colder. He sat opposite Evelyn in Arthur's study, ostensibly helping her sort through financial documents, his expensive suit a stark contrast to the room's somber mood.
Arthur's been distracted lately, Marcus remarked, his voice a low, sympathetic murmur. He paused, letting the implication hang in the air. And Lena, she seems to be spending a lot of time here, doesn't she? Helping Arthur with things.
Evelyn's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, she had noticed. The hushed conversations, the way Eleanor's hand would linger on Arthur's arm a fraction too long, the nervous glances exchanged when Evelyn entered a room.
Marcus's words, though seemingly innocent, were carefully placed seeds of doubt. As Evelyn momentarily left the study to retrieve a file, Marcus's movements became swift and precise. From an inner pocket of his blazer, he produced a burner phone, sleek and anonymous. With practiced ease, he slipped it beneath a stack of Arthur's old, rarely touched business journals on a lower shelf of the desk. A quick, almost imperceptible adjustment, and it was hidden, yet perfectly positioned for Evelyn's meticulous nature to eventually uncover. The phone contained a handful of vague, yet undeniably intimate, text messages between Arthur and Lena, carefully crafted to suggest a long-standing affair without revealing Marcus's hand. He then resumed his position, a picture of helpful concern, a predator in plain sight. The anonymous note arrived 2 days later, a jarring intrusion into Evelyn's carefully constructed solitude. It was slipped under the heavy oak door of the estate, a single sheet of thick, cream-colored paper, typewritten. The words were stark, unsettling. The desert keeps its secrets, but the stars remember.
No sender, no address, just the chilling message. Evelyn's heart hammered against her ribs. It felt like a direct challenge, a whisper from the very secrets she was trying to contain. Later that evening, unable to shake the unsettling feeling, Evelyn returned to Arthur's study. The room, usually a sanctuary of order, now felt charged with a sinister energy. She resumed her ritualistic organizing, her hands moving with a desperate need for control.
She reached for the stack of old business journals Marcus had been helping her with, intending to reshelve them. As she lifted the top journal, her fingers brushed against something cold and metallic.
It was the burner phone, her breath hitched. A cold dread seeped into her bones. With trembling fingers, she unlocked it. The screen glowed, revealing a short, damning exchange.
Arthur, can't wait to see you tonight, same place.
Elena, always. My heart aches for you.
The words were a physical blow, not just Arthur's infidelity, but Lena, her closest friend. The betrayal was a double-edged sword, twisting in her gut. The meticulous order of her world shattered, replaced by a chaotic storm of pain and rage. The locket, the anonymous note, Marcus's subtle hints, it all coalesced into a horrifying, undeniable truth. Evelyn sank into Arthur's leather chair, the burner phone clutched in her hand, the weight of the world's secrets pressing down on her. The fragile piece of the Sterling estate had finally, irrevocably unraveled.